I'll never forget the moment I saw her, my own daughter, sleeping on a piece of cardboard under the 3rd Street overpass, her 6-year-old clinging to her like a life raft. The daughter I threw out, the granddaughter I'd never met. And in that moment, I realized karma doesn't forget, and neither does a mother's heart. My name is Patricia Morrison. I'm 52 years old, and for the past 3 years, I've been volunteering at Hope Harbor, a soup kitchen in downtown Philadelphia. I thought I was doing it to ease my guilt. Turns out I was being led to my reckoning. It was a Tuesday morning, November, when the temperature had just dropped below freezing. I was handing out blankets near the shelter when I saw her. My heart stopped. My hands started shaking so badly I dropped the blanket I was holding. "Oh my God, Sarah?" I heard myself whisper, then louder, "Sarah!" She looked up from where she sat against the concrete barrier, and I saw her face, gaunt, exhausted, aged beyond her years. Her eyes, once so full of life and defiance, were hollow. "Keep walking, lady," she said flatly, pulling a small figure closer to her. "Sarah, it's Mom." There was a long, terrible pause. The little girl peeked out from behind Sarah's threadbare jacket. She had Sarah's eyes, my eyes. Sarah let out a bitter laugh that cut through me like glass. "Mom, that's rich. I don't have a mom, remember? You made that very clear 5 years ago." And before I go any further with this story, if you're connecting with what you're hearing, if you've ever struggled with family, pride, or regret, please subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell. Share this with someone who needs to hear that it's never too late for redemption. Trust me, you'll want to see how this ends. Now, let me take you back to where it all went wrong. Let me take you back 5 years. Back to when I was Patricia Morrison, real estate agent, country club member, wife of Edward Morrison, regional bank manager. We have the perfect life in suburban Cherry Hill, New Jersey, the perfect house with the perfect lawn and the perfect neighbors. Everything perfect, except our daughter. Sarah was 23, working as a waitress at a diner on Route 70, dating Marcus, a line cook with a warm smile, big dreams, and in my eyes, absolutely no future. He was handsome, I'll give him that. Polite, too. But he wasn't what I had planned for my daughter. I can still see that dinner. It was a Sunday evening in October. Edward and I were finishing dessert when Sarah walked in with Marcus, both of them glowing with an excitement that made my stomach turn. "Mom, Dad, we have news," Sarah said, squeezing Marcus's hand. "I'm pregnant and we're getting married." Edward put down his fork with that deliberate slowness that meant he was furious. "Absolutely not." I felt my face flush with anger and embarrassment. All I could think about was what the neighbors would say, what my bridge club would whisper. "Sarah, you are throwing your life away," I said, my voice tight and controlled. "This man works in a kitchen. He has no degree, no prospects." Marcus tried to speak up, his voice respectful but firm. "Mrs. Morrison, I love your daughter. I'm working 2 jobs to save for culinary school. I'm planning to—" I cut him off. I didn't want to hear about his dreams. Culinary school? Oh, how impressive. "Sarah, you were supposed to finish your business degree. You were supposed to marry someone from our circle, not this." Sarah's eyes filled with tears. "Someone from your circle? You mean someone you approve of? Someone who looks good at your cocktail parties?" "Watch your tone, young lady," Edward snapped. Sarah stood up, her chair scraping against our hardwood floors. "I love him, Mom, and I'm keeping this baby." And then I said the words that would haunt me for the rest of my life. I stood up, placed my napkin on the table, and looked my daughter in the eye. "Then you're making a choice. Him and that baby, or your family and your trust fund. You can't have both." Sarah's face went white. You're giving me an ultimatum about my baby?" "I'm giving you reality," I said coldly. "If you walk out that door with him, you're no longer our daughter. We won't pay for your mistakes." Sarah grabbed her purse, her hands shaking. "Then I guess I'm not your daughter anymore." I watched her walk out, my only child. Marcus followed her, looking back once with something like pity in his eyes. Edward and I stood in our perfect dining room in our perfect house, and we told ourselves we were doing the right thing. Tough love, we called it. She'd come crawling back, we were sure. She'd see we were right. Except she never did. For 2 years, I heard nothing. I told myself I didn't care. I told my bridge club friends Sarah was finding herself in California. I deleted her number from my phone. Edward and I agreed never to speak of her. We buried ourselves in work and social obligations and pretended we didn't have a gaping hole in our lives. Then Edward died suddenly, heart attack at his desk on a Wednesday afternoon. He was 54 years old, and in my grief, standing at his funeral surrounded by colleagues and acquaintances who barely knew him, I realized I'd been living a lie wrapped in designer clothes and country club memberships and real estate awards. The guilt started eating at me. I couldn't sleep. I'd walk through our 4-bedroom house and wonder where Sarah was, if she'd had the baby, if she was okay. But I was too proud to find out, too ashamed of what I'd done. 6 months after Edward died, his lawyer called me in to review some papers. That's when I found it, a folder marked Sarah Legal. Inside were copies of blocked phone records, cease and desist letters Edward had drafted. Sarah had called 12 times in the months after Marcus's death. I found out later he died in a kitchen fire, running back to save someone. 12 desperate calls from my daughter, and Edward had blocked every one and threatened her with harassment charges if she contacted us again. I threw up in the lawyer's office. The guilt became unbearable. So I started volunteering at Hope Harbor, a soup kitchen in one of Philadelphia's roughest neighborhoods. I told myself I was helping people. Really, I was trying to punish myself, to do penance. But I never imagined I'd find her there. But there I was, standing under that overpass on that freezing November morning, staring at my daughter and the granddaughter I'd never met. "Sarah, please talk to me," I begged. "Where's Marcus? Where are you living?" Sarah let out a hollow laugh that sounded like it came from someone much older. "Marcus died 18 months ago. Kitchen fire at the restaurant where he worked. He ran back in to save the owner's son. My hero husband died for $8 an hour and no life insurance." The little girl shivered and looked up at Sarah with frightened eyes. "Mama, I'm cold." Sarah pulled her closer, wrapping both arms around her. "I know, baby, I know." I reached out instinctively. "Let me help you, both of you, please." Sarah jerked away from my hand like I'd tried to burn her. "Help? Now you want to help? I called you, Mom, when Marcus died, when I was 9 months pregnant with no insurance, when I was being evicted. I called you 12 times. You never answered. Dad's lawyer sent a cease and desist letter threatening me with harassment charges if I contacted you again." My heart shattered. I didn't know about the calls. Edward handled. He must have blocked your number." "Sarah, I didn't know." "You chose not to know," she said, her voice rising. "There's a difference. You chose your perfect life over your daughter. You chose your reputation over your grandchild. And now you want to swoop in and what? Feel better about yourself?" She stood up, gathering their few belongings, and started walking away with the little girl's hand in hers. I stood there, frozen, tears streaming down my face, watching my daughter walk away with my granddaughter, a child whose name I didn't even know, when I felt a hand touch my shoulder. I turned to see Frank, the director of Hope Harbor. He was in his 60s, with kind eyes and a gruff manner. "That was your daughter, wasn't it?" "How did you—" I started. "Patricia, I've been doing this for 20 years. I know that look. The look of someone seeing their own failures walking on two legs." He guided me to a bench. "You want to know something? Sarah comes to our shelter every day. She never takes more than her share. She shares half her meal with Emma. That's your granddaughter's name, Emma. She reads to other kids from library books. She's one of the proudest, strongest women I've ever met. And she's dying out here, Patricia. Her and that little girl both." I broke down completely. "I destroyed her, Frank. My own pride, my own prejudice. I destroyed my baby." Frank sat next to me and let me cry for a few minutes before he spoke. "Maybe. But here's the thing about destruction, Patricia. It clears the ground for rebuilding. Question is, are you ready to actually do the work, or are you just here to ease your guilt?" "What do I do?" I asked desperately. "You show up. Not once, not when it's convenient. Every single day. You earn back what you broke. And, Patricia," he looked at me seriously, "she's not going to make it easy on you. She shouldn't." Frank was right. Sarah made it incredibly hard. For 2 weeks, I showed up every day at that overpass, rain or shine. I brought blankets, food, medicine for Emma's cough that I could hear rattling in her chest. Sarah took them wordlessly and turned her back on me every single time. She wouldn't speak to me, wouldn't look at me, just took what I offered and dismissed me. It was torture, but I deserved it. Week 3, I brought Emma a stuffed rabbit, a soft, cream-colored one with floppy ears. Emma's eyes lit up when she saw it. "Mama, can I keep it?" she asked in a small voice. Sarah looked at the rabbit, then at me, then back at Emma. She looked exhausted beyond measure. "Say thank you to the lady." "Thank you, lady," Emma whispered, clutching the rabbit to her chest. I knelt down on that dirty concrete, not caring about my pants. "You can call me, well, whatever you'd like. What's your name, sweetheart?" "Emma Rose. I'm 6 3/4." Tears filled my eyes. "Emma Rose. That's beautiful. Your Grandma Rose, my mother, would have loved that." Sarah snapped. Don't you dare bring Grandma into this. She died asking about me, and you told her I was too busy to visit. You let her die thinking I didn't care about her." I sat down on the curb, completely defeated. "You're right. I was a coward, a snob, a terrible mother, and I can't undo any of it. Sarah, I can't give you back those years. I can't bring Marcus back. I can't—" "You can what?" Sarah interrupted bitterly. "Write me a check and feel better? Buy our way back into our lives? Put us in some apartment and tell yourself you're Mother of the Year?" "No," I said quietly. "I can show up every day for as long as it takes, even if you never forgive me, even if you keep hating me. I can just be here, the way I should have been all along." Sarah didn't respond. She just turned away, but she didn't tell me to leave. On day 23, I was counting every single one. Everything changed. I arrived at the overpass to find it empty. Their cardboard was there. Emma's rabbit was there. But Sarah and Emma were gone. Panic seized me like a fist around my heart. I actually ran 6 blocks to Hope Harbor, bursting through the doors. "Frank," I shouted, "where's Sarah? Where's Emma?" Frank looked up from his desk, his face grave. "Hospital. Emma collapsed this morning, pneumonia. Sarah's been there for 18 hours. I didn't remember driving to St. Christopher's Hospital. I just remember running through those automatic doors and asking every nurse, every orderly, where my granddaughter was. I found Sarah in the waiting room, still in her dirty clothes, head in her hands, rocking back and forth. "Sarah," I said softly. She looked up and her face was ravaged with fear and exhaustion. "They won't let me see her, Mom," she said, and it was the first time in 5 years she'd called me that. They said I need proof of guardianship, insurance, birth certificate. I don't have any of it, Mom. I don't have anything. And my baby is in there, and I can't. She broke down completely, her whole body shaking with sobs that seemed to tear out of her soul. I wrapped my arms around my daughter for the first time in 5 years. She stiffened at first, then collapsed against me. Yes, you do, I said fiercely. You have me, and I'm not leaving either of you, not ever again. I spent the next 6 hours on the phone. I used every connection I still had from my real estate days. I called in every favor. I threatened. I begged. I threw around Edward's name and my own. By midnight, Emma was moved to a private room with the best pediatric team in Philadelphia, and I'd put down a deposit that made the hospital administrators smile. But I'd done something else, something I should have done 5 years ago. I called Edward's lawyer and told him to liquidate the life insurance policy, all $180,000 of it, and I had him draw up papers putting every penny into a trust for Sarah and Emma only. I couldn't touch it. It was theirs, no strings attached. Around 2 a.m., Sarah and I sat in plastic chairs beside Emma's hospital bed, watching the monitors beep rhythmically. Emma was sleeping, her little chest rising and falling with the help of oxygen. "Why are you doing this?" Sarah asked quietly. I looked at my daughter, really looked at her. She was so thin, so tired, but so strong. Because I was so busy trying to control your life, I forgot to love you in it. Because Marcus was a better man than I ever gave him credit for, and I was too blind and stupid to see it. Because Emma deserves a grandmother who shows up. And because, my voice cracked, I'm so sorry, baby girl, for everything. Sarah was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was small and broken. I needed you, Mom. When Marcus died, when Emma was born, when I lost our apartment, I needed you so badly. I know, I said, tears streaming down my face. I know, and I'm here now, if you'll let me. There was a long pause. Sarah watched Emma sleep, then said quietly, Emma's middle name is Rose, after Grandma. Marcus chose it. He said, family is what you make it, not what you're born into. I started crying harder. He was right, and I was wrong about everything, about him, about you, about what matters. Sarah reached over and took my hand. She didn't say I was forgiven. She didn't say everything was okay. She just held my hand while we watched Emma breathe. And it was enough. It was a start. Emma recovered. It took 3 weeks in the hospital, but that little fighter pulled through. I stayed in that hospital room every single day. I learned how to read Emma's stories, how to make her laugh, how to be a grandmother. And I learned how to be a mother again, the right way this time. I didn't just write checks, though God knows I spent enough money. I sold my house in Cherry Hill, that monument to shallow perfection and everything I'd valued over my own child. I bought a 3-bedroom townhouse in Fishtown, a working-class neighborhood in Philadelphia. Sarah and Emma took the upstairs. I took the downstairs. At first, Sarah was suspicious, waiting for the catch, waiting for me to try to control her again. But I'd learned my lesson. Sarah enrolled in community college. She's studying social work, wants to help women like herself, women who fall through the cracks. I watch Emma while she's in class. Every Tuesday and Thursday, Emma and I bake cookies. We go to the park, we read books. Emma calls me Nana P now. Every morning, she crawls into my bed at 6 a.m. and tells me about her dreams. She tells me about school. She shows me her drawings. And I listen to every word like it's the most important thing in the world. Because it is. Every evening, Sarah and I sit on the porch of our townhouse, and I tell her stories about my mother, Rose, the grandmother she never got to know. My mother, who would have loved Sarah unconditionally, who would have been disgusted with what I did, who would have welcomed Marcus with open arms. Grandma Rose would have loved Marcus, I told Sarah one evening. She always said you can tell a man's character by how he treats people who can't do anything for him. Marcus was that kind of man, wasn't he? Sarah smiled, a real smile this time. He was. He used to give his tips to homeless guys outside the restaurant. Drove me crazy sometimes, but that was Marcus. He saw people, really saw them. I wish I had, I said. I wish I'd seen him, really seen you, but I was too busy looking at what people weren't instead of who they were. Sarah was quiet for a moment. You're different now, Mom. You're softer, real. Losing everything will do that to you, I said. Turns out, when you strip away the pride and the pretension, all you have left is what actually matters. And all that actually matters is sitting right here on this porch. 6 months after I found Sarah under that overpass, Frank asked me to speak at Hope Harbor's annual Volunteer Appreciation Dinner. Sarah and Emma sat in the front row. Emma was wearing a new dress. She'd picked it out herself, bright yellow with sunflowers. Sarah was in her college sweatshirt, looking healthier than I'd seen her in years. Frank introduced me, and I walked up to that podium with my heart pounding. I'm not here because I'm a good person, I began, my voice shaking slightly. I'm here because I was a terrible one, and I'm trying to learn how to be better. 3 years ago, I threw away the most precious thing in my life because she didn't fit my perfect picture. I valued status over soul, appearance over authenticity. I cared more about what my bridge club thought than about my own daughter's happiness, and I lost everything that mattered. If you take nothing else from my story, take this. Pride is expensive. It costs you the people you love. It costs you time you can never get back. It costs you the chance to know truly extraordinary people. I looked at Sarah and Emma in the front row. Emma waved at me. Sarah wiped her eyes. My daughter is the strongest person I know. She survived my rejection, poverty, grief, homelessness, and she still managed to raise a kind, joyful child. She didn't need me to do that, but I need her. I need both of them to remember what really matters, to remember who I should have been all along. So if there's someone in your life you've written off, someone who didn't meet your expectations, someone who embarrassed you, someone who chose love over your approval, I'm here to tell you, swallow your pride, show up, do the work, because karma is real and second chances are rare, and if you're lucky enough to get one, don't waste it. After the ceremony, Emma ran up to me and hugged my legs. That was good, Nana P. You didn't even mess up. I laughed and picked her up, this beautiful granddaughter I almost never knew. Thanks, sweetheart. Sarah walked up more slowly. That was brave, Mom. It was honest. I'm trying to do more of that. I know, Sarah said. And then, quietly, I'm proud of you. Those 4 words meant more to me than every real estate award, every country club membership, every compliment I'd ever received in my old life. Today, Sarah is in her final semester at community college. She's already been offered a job at Hope Harbor. She'll be their new family services coordinator. Emma starts 2nd grade next month in a stable home with a mother who never stops fighting for her and a grandmother who's learning that love isn't about control, it's about showing up. Edward's trust fund that I once threatened to withhold, Sarah refuses to touch it. She's saving every penny for Emma's college fund. She says she'll earn what they need herself. That's my daughter. That's the woman I almost lost forever. And every night before I go to sleep, I walk upstairs and peek into Emma's room. I watch her sleep, clutching that cream-colored rabbit. Then I look in on Sarah, usually studying at her desk, working toward the future she's building for herself. And I thank God, and yes, I thank karma too, for that freezing November morning when my pride finally shattered and I found my way back to love. If this story touched you, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe for more true stories of redemption and second chances. And remember, it's never too late to do the right thing. It's only too late when you stop trying. I'm Patricia Morrison, and this is my reckoning with karma, a reckoning that gave me back everything I thought I'd lost forever.